Viewer discretion is advised.
Man, that's one of the hardest things, is to forgive and forget. You know, you can forgive, but it's hard to forget.
Mandate.
Welcome to Mandate, where we navigate fresh perspectives and nothing is off the table. Tonight's guest is from Tamaki Makuru, Okilani, and these people are amazing individuals, but even more so amazing as a couple. They're former professional athletes and well renowned in terms of their respective sports. One played for Ikale tahi, the Kingdom of Tonga rugby union team. But also had a stint in France as well, playing for Dax in terms of rugby. But also he did he did some stuff in terms of American football in the States, and he trained in the NFL with teams like the Jackson Jaguars, the New York Jets, and also the New York Giants. But also his lovely wife is a netballer. She played for the Southern Sting and also for the Southern Steel and many other teams. But also at the top of her, career in terms of the highest level in terms of Aotearoa New Zealand, played for the Silver Ferns in the 2002 Commonwealth, but also in 2010. But these lovely people are also entrepreneurial, business-minded, but most importantly, they are parents to two lovely kids. So please put your hands together for this incredible couple, Joe and Daneka Tuineau.
Thank you.
Marolava Togo and Marolava Sis. Just to start the ball rolling, because you guys are our very first. I think we should it's appropriate to mention that you are our very first couple on the podcast, and so it's a privilege to have you guys here as well. But just to start the ball rolling, being athletes and the professionalism around being athletes. And I know we had a bit of a corridor at the back there around just kind of like two ships kind of passing each other because of your busy schedules and regimes and so forth. Well, tell us how was that for you guys, in your own words, in terms of kind of navigating, but also balancing whānau and your relationship and even the kids.
Yeah. Daneka, you can start and go handle that one.
No, I mean, at the start it was really hard. Obviously at the start when we were first dating, we were in two different towns, so that was a little bit harder, but obviously a little bit easier without having children. And then obviously when we had Kailani, it was a little bit more difficult to try and navigate, because obviously I was internationally training, and at that time that's when we were playing in Australia and obviously here in New Zealand. And then Joe was obviously down in Southland, so he was in Dunedin at the time. So we were trying to navigate, obviously, babysitting, who's picking who up from Kailani up from Croatia or whatever it was. And so those sort of things were a little bit difficult to do. And then obviously as it got on, it got a little bit easier with family being here in New Zealand. But then when we went over to France, it was a huge, obviously a change. I didn't have to play sport, but Joe did, and he would leave and I would be in a foreign town couldn't really speak the language or didn't know how to go get nappies or, those sort of things. So navigating that was a little bit different, but it was good, because I think we understood each other at the same time. Like, I knew what he needed as a sports player, and he knew what I needed as well. So sometimes when it was, you're too tired to talk, or when we were having conversations on the phone, we kind of understood, okay, well, you need to have your rest and so forth. So those sort of things were probably, we understood each other on that aspect. But being a mum and dad was probably the toughest. But
yeah, because I could imagine, like, when you had your first child, it would be like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like, like any other good parent would be like, it's not about us anymore. But you still got careers, you're still playing as professionals, and now you got this little baby or this little human being to take care of now. Yeah,
and that's an amazing thing, to have a child, and it changes perspectives. We were both quite busy, and it was hard to give time to our child. So I think it came to a point where we decided, hey, look, the best thing for our family is that we're together. And so we made that decision together that, hey, okay, we'll stay together and we'll take an opportunity to head over to France. And I think it was the perfect thing to do because, being in different cities, playing different sports, having those pulls, you know, you're getting pulled in every different direction, training, games, you know, it's quite tough. So the opportunity to come together and just be a team of our own, you know, our little own team. And so moving over to France, you know, really provided us an opportunity to get together, you know, and to be in the same house. And that was one of the biggest things, is that we weren't in the same house, you know, we were always apart. So I think the biggest thing for me was that opportunity to get together again, because it was hard. It was really hard. And, you know, now we're so much stronger for going through all of that. And, yeah, it's been an amazing 20 years. Yeah. So, yeah.
And the reason why I asked that question, because there might be a lot of athletes or aspiring athletes, or those who may be going contracted to go overseas and to play overseas and so forth, and you know, one day they're going to find a partner and so forth, and then might have kids, and so just in the same situation in terms of juggling all those commitments and also relationships and having kids. So I think people will get, a lot of the athletes will be kind of, it's just going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and like I said, it is really tough. It is really tough. And I know, you know, through experience that there's a lot of people that, you know, from broken homes, because, you know, somebody's got a contract and they've had to leave, you know, just to be able to make that money for their family. And it's a great opportunity, but sometimes, you know, it can pull people apart as well. And it makes it hard being in a foreign country, learning a language, you know, going through all those little things. And it can either pull you together or, you know, it can break you apart. But if you're able to work through that adversity, I think it just makes you so much tighter. Yeah. So it's been awesome.
Awesome ducks.
Were there times that you guys like wanted to just finish, like it was just too hard of a commitment? Like,
oh, you know, no, seriously, man. Like there's so many times, so many frustrations. You know, we've man, you know, 20 years we've gone through a lot. Being in New Zealand, traveling, you know, being overseas. There's been many times, you know, we've gone, hey, look, we're over here in France, you know, this contract's not so great. We don't have enough money to pay for petrol, you know, like we're in France, you know, playing rugby, but then we've got like all these financial problems, and then we're looking at each other like, hey, look, maybe I'm going to go back to New Zealand, you know, maybe I'm going to go back and find a job there, and oh no, come on, let's try and get through this. And to be honest, those battles have just made us so much tighter. And you know, once again, like I said, they can break you apart or make you tighter. So, but definitely hard times.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, like at the start of our relationship, Joe was in America for 5 years, and I was here in New Zealand pursuing my career, and he was doing his. So that's probably where we started to feel that long distance relationship, because we were together for 5 years. He was there in America for 5 years, and I was here. So we did a lot of our relationship was on the phone and communicating in that way. We didn't have Skype back in the day, or no video, you know, sort of video. So it was a lot of like obviously telephone, calling cards and so forth. But I think that time was probably our toughest because we were both very new to this whole relationships type of thing. I was doing my career, and I was quite high up in where I was going to go, and he wanted to go where he needed to go. And then obviously when we came together, those sort of things clashed, and it was just living together was really hard because we were two different people. I was so independent, and I didn't have to answer to nobody. Like I could go to training and didn't have to say, oh, hey, I'm going to training and I'll be back in an hour. I could go to training and I could be back in 3 hours. Do you know what I mean? I had no one at home sort of having to answer to or what have you, and he was the same. So when we came back, I suppose in New Zealand, it was quite rough. Like we were like, okay, this is not working. So then obviously when we had Kailani, then that all impacted us. And then when we went, like you said, when we went to France, it was probably, another huge stepping stone in the relationship, and I think we needed that, and because we were at a time when even when we had Kailani, we were still deciding, are we going to keep, like we're going to go through this parenting thing together, because at the moment we can't even decide on who's putting the washing in the washing machine, those sort of things, who's doing the dishes, who's cooking dinner when we get home. So those sort of things we really had to sit down and, and then we had this human being that we had to look after as well and navigate our careers. So it was, I think when it came down to it, we were like, okay, we're going to have to, I'm going to pull away from netball because it was time at that time. And then I thought, let's do this. And it really did make or break us. And we were probably breaking here in New Zealand more than when we went to France. We were like, okay, well, we've got no distractions, we've got no family, we've got nothing. It's just going to be you, me, and our daughter. And I think that's really what turned our relationship in the sides of, those little things didn't matter anymore, those little petty little things, because now it's a bigger picture, and we had a human and a little human to look after, and then obviously he had his career and he needed to go forward on that, so we needed to figure that out.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, because these are real stuff that a lot of couples go through, and we don't really get to talk about it, especially in where everyone else is going, especially out the open. But it's it's about normalizing these conversations, and I know all of us in our relationships and marriages, and we can resonate with bits and pieces. But in terms of this long distance thing, man, that's tough for a lot of couples, because everyone goes, "Oh, long distance never works," but you guys been together for 20 years, you've been through the highs and the lows, and so it's so awesome to hear part of that story.
I think one of the biggest things was I think early on, Daneka, just having that person that knew your lifestyle, she was an athlete herself, and that really helped when we looked at each other like, like she said earlier on, he's tired or she's tired, or she's just come back from a long trip, so just knowing that we were in the same kind of boat, you could understand, hey, like sometimes when there was fights and everything, and there was pressures, we kind of understood those pressures because we'd both been going through it, but I must say, when I went to France, Daneka's career took a back step. She got put in the background, and then she was there for me all the way, massaging. Old man, I was getting on in age when I went over, and 2 times a week, honey, I'm sore, I don't know if I can do this anymore. It's like, no, honey, you can, come on, you got it. And then, oh, can you give me a massage? Oh, yep, no worries, easy. She bought a massage table. She studied massage.
Wow.
She's actually working for the Warriors, honey. So she's doing
up the wire.
Let's go. And when I went over to France and we started that career, she had to start thinking about what she wanted to do, and she always enjoyed giving massages and working that way. So she studied, and going to France, and then her career taking a backward step, and anything I needed, she was there to cook, she was there to clean, she was doing all the administration, making sure the paperwork was right. In France, paperwork is crazy, tax, all those kind of things, and I just had to concentrate on rugby, and you've got your personal assistant, you got your masseuse, you got your chef, looking after the kids. Oh man, and as an athlete, as a guy, as a husband, as a father, to have a woman like Daneka behind you, pushing you, she knows the stresses that you go through, and to be able to put her life aside to do everything for me and my career was amazing, So big ups, honey,
Oh, man.
And it's tough being away from your family as well, and traveling, playing sport, but to have somebody there always on the phone as well, always there for you, it's just such a huge thing, and I think I just have so much appreciation for everything that she's done for me and our family, and it's selfless, and just looking back, over so many years, it's we went away in 2011. So we were away for 11 years, and she just did, you know, everything that we needed as a family, she was there to do it. So thank you, honey.
Wow, man.
Let's give a round of applause.
Because when was it, D? Because this is beautiful. Thank you for that, Joe and D. But when was it? When was the definitive moment for you, D, in terms of like, you know what, I just put my career or my professionalism in terms of sports on the back burner and support Joe 100%. What kind of changed and what made you make up that decision?
I think I had started my career really young. Like I was I think I just turned 15, and I was semi-professional netball then. I was the youngest on the court. I was playing, so my career sort of went quite quickly. Like, I mean, I started so young and everything just sort of turned, and then I was in the Silver Ferns at 18, and so things sort of went quite quickly for me. So when I had my daughter was probably my biggest turning point, because not only was it at the time, I think I was been playing for like 10 years or what have you, it was, I went away, I got the pressure to, obviously I had Kailani, and then 6-7 weeks later I was on the court playing again. And not only with that, is that then I had this opportunity where I played quite well in that in that time, and then I made the Silver Ferns to go over to Com Games. And I think the scariest thing was when I think she was only like 6 months, and I left, and I handed her over to my mum, and she wasn't walking, or she was just crawling around, but I missed all of that sort of stuff, and I missed seeing her do all of that. Obviously, I was a bit greedy because I wanted a gold medal, but I was just more in awe that she was just so easy to just be able to drop off, and I sort of walked away, and I was like, oh my gosh, when I was over there I was like, oh, is she going to remember who I am? Because I was gone for 6.5 weeks, and yeah, that was really hard, and I didn't enjoy that at all. And then obviously we went away, and then I missed her walking and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, this is not what I want. Like I want to be there as a parent. I gave this, and I think it was just at that turning point I thought, and he got this opportunity. I actually got a job. And then I was 2 weeks into the job, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to give up netball for a bit. I'm going to have a year. I'm going to work. I'm actually going to do a 9 to 5 and do something that's normal, and bring up my daughter. And then he rang it was 2 weeks, and he was like, hey honey, I think I've got a contract over in France. And I was like, oh, I've just started this job. I've just like, oh my God, how am I going to? And I was like, oh, you don't need me to come up. You go and go suss it all out, and I'll come later, or I'll come over for a visit. I'll come at Christmas time or whatever. How long is it? And he's 6 months. And I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, well, we've done 5 years, sort of thing. So I thought, oh no, he'll go and I'll just stay here, because I really wanted to do a 9 to 5. Like I wanted to work and just do normal things. And he was like, no, let's go over, kind of thing. And then I think it was like he had to go within 4 days of this phone call. So he literally got a phone call on the Friday. He had to be on the plane on the Tuesday. And then he was like, are you coming or not? Because I need to kind of tell the team. And I was like, okay, well, can you give me 2 weeks? I need to give my notice and all that sort of stuff. So, and that was it. It was just, I think it just went so fast. It was time to just do it. And I thought, you know what, I'll just, that I wanted to have time off with work anyway. So I wanted to go and work and not actually play netball, and just have a bit of time out and be with my daughter. But I thought, hey, best opportunity is to go over to France and, see the other side of the world. And it was literally, I handed in my notice, he left, and 2 weeks later, it was about 3 weeks by the time I organised myself, I was on the plane and heading to France.
What an adventure. Like long distance relationship, going over to France, both being athletes. What's the relationship like with in-laws? Because obviously they will have been seeing all of this stuff happen, your relationship blossom, kids come along, going overseas. Like, what's the relationship like in terms of?
I remember your in-laws might be watching the podcast.
You love your in-laws.
I can't complain.
No, Daneka's parents were really cool. And that was a huge part of it. Was that I met her dad. Her dad was he's an amazing. Rest in peace, Kevin. He was a big supporter of Daneka, and I used to go to the games with him. And he had this booming voice, and he used to yell from the stands, "Shoot it up, Snake! Shoot it up!" man, and he was such a big, you know, bigger than life guy. He was, you know, amazing person, and we miss him every day. But he was cool, man. And Marie, you know, Daneka's mum, she was a netballer as well. Nice lady, smaller than Big Dad, but you know, and so supportive. You know, whatever we went through, they were there, you know, supporting us no matter what. So I mean, I'll take that for your parents. You know, awesome people, and they're still, you know, awesome today. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't complain. I mean, I live with Joe's parents. I was at a point where I was moving flats and I needed a place to go. So, and Joe was in America at the time, so I stayed with the in-laws, and like they're loving. Like, I think I was the daughter they never had because he's got 2 older brothers. So I got very spoiled when I lived there.
But they were backstabbing him to you.
No.
I just remember my mum.
I gave the information to the parents because they were always like, "Oh, we never hear from him." So
yeah, I think one of the biggest things is my mum turned to me and she said, "Hey, you need to lock that one down." I was like, "Oh, you might be right. You know, better get my A into G. Better sort my life out." Yeah, but no, the in-laws have been good.
That's cool.
That's
cool.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, now that you mentioned that, D, did you learn anything about your husband from just being around his family?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I did. I mean, like that. I mean, they're so loving, and like obviously. Joe's dad's a pastor and stuff, and so I'm not religious in any time. So when I first met them, I was like, oh gosh, I'm not going to fit in here. Like, I don't even know anything. I don't even think I've opened a Bible before in my life. So those sort of things scared me. But they were never put pressure on you to, you know, obviously go to Sunday church or anything like that. And Mum was always just so loving to like just sit down and have a chat. I don't know if the boys sat down and chatted with Mum before, like, you know, and you know, heart to heart with her. So I really enjoyed doing those sort of things. And
yeah, one of the funniest things, I remember Daneka calling me up and said, "Hey, you know, I was like, hey, how was your day?" And she was like, yeah, today I went to a funeral and I carried mats and I had to come in front of the family and I had to present the mats. I was like, why were you doing that? I mean, I called my dad. I was like, "Dad, what are you doing? You're forcing her to go to church and take the mats into a funeral. What's going on?" You know, like, but hey, that's the way Daneka was. You know, she just gave everything to the family. You know, and I wouldn't expect anybody to do that sort of thing. You know, early into a relationship and being asked to do that. You know, just like, but my dad already saw her as part of the family, so I guess it came easy for him. But yeah, funny story, but.
Cool.
I think I learnt more from his brothers, if anything, if they came around, because he wasn't around. I lived there for about a year and a half, and they would fill me in with all the stories. So I learnt a lot. Yes, I learnt a lot.
But it's interesting because you said early on, Dee, that whilst you were here in New Zealand, there was some rough times, rough patches, but you felt it kind of when you left New Zealand and went to France, kind of like things kind of gelled together at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think here we had a lot of probably outside noise of being athletes as well, because I mean, our days never, like, if I did something on the court or anything, it would be in the newspaper, or, you know, we'd be, and the same for him, you know, there'd be certain things, highs and lows, we had them in the paper or whatever. So those things, we had the outside noise, and obviously our families play a big part. So obviously when you fight, you go off and vent, obviously to your family or what have you. But in France, we never had that. You know, we didn't have that same sort of outside noise. We only had our outside noise, if anything, and it was between us two. So we could only really slam a door and, you know, but then we had to open it and come back out and see that person again, where obviously here sometimes in New Zealand we could go away, or I could go to mum's, or, you know, I could go to my sister's and he could go to his family, and then there would be a huge gap of, you know, silent treatments or what have you, that really caused the problems to fester more, where obviously in France we had to hit them, you know, head on and really deal with them because we had nowhere else to go. So I think that's what, when we were in France, I think that was probably our biggest thing. We just didn't have so many inputs, if that made sense. It was just about us two and obviously the kids. So yeah, we had to like really learn to talk low and not heated, but you know, and really listen to each other. Obviously, some things are not always going to go our way, and obviously, I'm opinionated and stubborn. He's very much the same. So there's obviously things that we saw differently, but we had to come together and make sure that, you know, okay, well, I understand where you're coming from, and you got to understand where I'm coming from, kind of thing, and then meet in the middle. But we're here in New Zealand, we could never meet in the middle. It was always, oh, you're over there, I'm over here. Okay, we'll deal with this later on because I'm not dealing with you right now, sort of thing. So
And early on in France, like, we didn't have the language and we didn't really have any support. Like, I played at clubs where nobody spoke English, you know, so Daneka didn't have anybody to speak to. I mean, I didn't have, but so we only had each other, you know, and there were days that we wouldn't go out because we didn't want to, you know, like, try and speak to the people. You know, it'd be too hard to communicate. So, you know, if we had a problem with each other, we had to sort it out real quick, you know. It's really tough living in a house when you don't talk to each other for a few days. That happened a few times. But, all we had was each other. Like, there was no other real support. So, you know, a day of arguing, you know, and you just can't carry on like that, you know. So we had to sort things out real quick, you know. And there were times, you know, where you angry at each other, but, oh, honey, my game's tomorrow, you know, my shoulder. It's real hard.
I'm sorry.
and you just said, oh, sorry, babe, but can I get a massage now? You know, like, oh, yeah, you just had to sort it out because there was nobody else there to really help, you know, no other real support. So, yeah.
Man. So how did you, like, and I suppose I'm kind of asking because this is something I'm still trying to figure out myself as a husband, but like for myself, like I'm working and my wife takes care of the kids, so she's there to capture those moments, those memories that I'm not there for, like, but you know, on the times that I've had to do it myself, there's just absolutely no way, like, I can't do what she does. And so I wonder, how do you find time for yourself, Dee, to sort of have your own time when you're so full on with the kids? And then I suppose even for yourself, Joe, like, what do you guys do in terms of still having your own personal time away from each other and the kids, where you can, you know, vent, heal, grow?
You got that one?
Yeah, well, and I mean, obviously in France it was a little bit tough. It was, I mean, we did have I had times where I really said to him, like, I'm gonna pack my bag, I need to go home, like, I need to go, I need to be away, I need to, you know, obviously refresh or do something different, because I mean, everyone says that, you know, you go to France and you become a wag, and it's like the lifestyle, you get to go out and you get to have brunch and lunch, and the kids are at school because they start school, so you don't do anything, you know, you must be enjoying life, but it can get boring. Like, it can really get to a time where you're just like, okay, I cannot look at another dish, I cannot clean this house any more than it needs to be cleaned. And like Joe said, when the language barrier is hard, your friend circle becomes quite small, and if they don't speak English or they don't speak to you, then it becomes even smaller because it's you and the four walls in your apartment. And it did get tough. There was times, but I was lucky enough when we moved to one of the third teams Joe decided to go and shift off to. I was just walking the streets, and obviously I'm not the smallest structure of life, and I got noticed. Obviously, every time I went to train or whatever, a lot of people thought I played volleyball over there. There was a huge, you know, it was a huge competition over there, volleyball or handball. And no, I would always say, no, I'm just a normal person walking the street. But then, I got picked up to play basketball. So I didn't play basketball as serious as I probably could have, but I obviously netball, and they didn't play netball over there. And then I sort of ventured into that, and my dad really pushed me into doing it. And so I ventured into that, and that gave me my lease, I think. It gave me my identity back, and going somewhere, and it was not about him, so I got, you know, people recognized me, and, you know, everyone wanted, and I could go to trainings, and my trainings I could organize and said, oh, hey, you've got to be here with the kids today because I've got to go to training. So that was probably my lease over there, so, which was nice. And then obviously back here I've got a few things in the pipeline which give me my time away, but in France it was a little bit rougher, but once I got my basketball underway, it was really nice. Yeah,
and I think that's a huge thing for a lot of people that go over to France, you know, with their families, is that you know, it's flashy when it can be like, you know, sometimes you get to travel and you go to the beach and sit on the beach and everything like that. But man, there's some weeks where you know, your husband might have gone away for the weekend to play a game, or he's at training all day, you know, and the wife just sits at home, you know, watching TV, and it's like, how many days can I sit at home and watch TV, you know? So it's really important that, you know, when you travel overseas, that, you know, the wife finds something to do, some kind of, you know, either if it's studying or, you know, playing a sport, or, you know, finding that support system outside of, you know, the house. It's really important. Because, yeah, like Daneka said, everybody, you know, kind of thinks you're a wag and you're living the life. But, you know, there's only so many episodes you can watch on Netflix before you're like, hey, I need to do something, you know, there needs to be something else. And I think there were times that you got to that point, you're like, hey, honey, you know, sick and tired of being here watching TV, you know, what else are we doing? We need to go do something. Yeah.
I think that was part of why I asked. It was like, you didn't have much turnaround time to like really consider the big move. It was such a huge leap of faith. And I think sometimes you don't truly understand the costs like it'll take on your relationship, on yourself personally. And I love that you talked about getting your identity back, because I think obviously you had to find out the hard way that, you know, it's not all you know, daisies and rainbows. It's like, it really does take a toll. And so was there a time where like the isolation, you know, you sort of touched on it a bit in terms of missing family, and, you know, was there ever some resentment sometimes where you're just like, man, I wish I wasn't here. If I had my say right now, we're heading back. And like sometimes it can be unintentional, but you can start to feel resentment towards each other because, you know, you might have felt like, this was Joe. I came here I did this for Joe, and I'm not feeling as appreciated as I could. And maybe Joe was feeling like, you know, this is a great opportunity for us. Like, I wish you were sort of showing a bit more. Well, was there much of that?
Yeah, exactly that. How'd you know? Hit it on the head. No, yeah, exactly that. You know, like Daneka said, she kind of lost her identity over there. You know, she was like, oh, there goes Joe's wife. You know, so she, you know, she was just Joe's wife. Whereas, you know, she was something before that. So she did lose her identity, but I think, you know, going back into basketball, something that she played early on and she really enjoyed, gave her that identity back. And, you know, and that's important, really important. There was resentment there. I mean, you hit it on the head, you know, like, oh, I did this, you know, come over here for your opportunity. You know, I need to find something for me. And that led us into conversations about coming home and, you know, study and things after rugby. But, you know, being able to play basketball, do your studies. She studied massage, obviously. And just those little things helped.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, like you said, the identity was hard, but I think probably when we did get into anything, it was more not only my identity, but it was just I didn't have anything of my own. Like everything was him. So everything, to even the money. Like even if I wanted to go buy a top, I always sort of felt like, oh, can I go buy the top? Like, because I had nothing. Like I had no income coming in. I had, and I felt like I wasn't contributing in that way either. So I felt like, well, I can't really go and buy that for me because I'm not contributing to our household stuff.
And that was one of our you know issues, is that Daneka always had her own income. She always had her own money, you know. And now she was like, oh, I don't feel like. I was like, honey, it's our money. Like, you spend it how you want to spend it. She's like, no, I feel like I'm spending your money. You know, and it was quite kind of. I mean, I guess that's just how Daneka is. You know, she always had her own money and had her own independence, and now she was kind of having to rely on somebody else, which kind of made her feel uncomfortable. But you could spend it, honey?
But that would have been tough. The whole thing would have been tough for you because you were in the spotlight over here. You just transitioned out of, you know, being the top sport and women's sport, and now you've made this commitment, but then, you know, just everything that you see is like, oh shucks, now I have to, like, I'm Joe's wife, or you don't really have your outlet into. And it's cool that there's a lot of the issues or some of these stuff that couples go through in terms of like work life, your sports, careers, and trying to find what's our thing and
exactly
how to navigate through it all.
Yeah. And I think we've gone into business together now, and you know those same kind of issues are coming up now, where you know, time and trying to figure out how to run a business. I mean, being small business owners in New Zealand, man, you know, like coming back from France. We were coming back and we heard all these conversations about how, man, it's so expensive in New Zealand. You know, I hope you know what you're going to do, everything like that. And when we first came back to New Zealand, it was like, geez, what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to find our way? And I never thought, you know, like, geez, you know, the amount of change in New Zealand over those 11 years, the cost of food and everything like that, you know, and just seeing more people living on the streets, more people living in their cars, you know, it's so different to when I grew up. You know, I don't think I saw maybe 1 or 2 homeless people in Auckland, you know, and now there's so many, and so many people ask for food and money and stuff like that. And just that whole change coming back to New Zealand, it's crazy. But also working in business, small business owners, and trying to make you know, certain decisions, and working together. You know, like we're trying to figure it all out again, and it feels like, you know, we're back in that place where we were early on. You know, we got these pulls in different directions. We got, you know, financial issues that we got to try and figure out. But once again, you know, being gone through all that hard work and those arguments and those fights have made us, you know, a lot tighter. So it's helped us, especially now, trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to figure this out in this, you know, in these roles. But it's just been a good opportunity now to get back into where we were, figure everything out, and be able to talk to each other, have these conversations. Because in the past, maybe we found it hard to have conversations, you know, when we're arguing and all those things, but just figuring each other out, I guess, over time, and being able to have conversations and figure everything out. That's a really good thing at the moment.
That's cool, man. That's cool, Togo. If we can get back, because I'm glad you kind of segued into to your business, and obviously we can talk about F45 as well. But just going back to the identity, because I think it's quite common in terms of if you've married to someone or have a partner who's quite driven, has all these grandiose ideas, and says, "Oh, I want to do this." And then somehow, you know, your partner or your wife could feel like, hey, I've lost who I am as an individual, but also as a person. But what kind of advice can you give for those couples who may be heading towards that kind of same rut, so to speak, in terms of not making the same mistake, or something practical, some sort of solutions in terms of, okay, in terms of the wife not feeling, I don't know who I am, and also the husband kind of open communication and so forth. What kind of advice could you give for some of those couples who may be on that path or that avenue?
D would say, get your own massage gun. Massage yourself.
Sorry, he's like, just be straight up and just get your. You massage your own damn self. I've done a basketball game.
But one thing I didn't say is that, hey, look, when she was playing basketball, hey, I did the massage too. She'd say, hey, honey, okay, game day massage. Boom, I was in there, and I guess it's you know, you can see the work that she's done for you. Hey, give it back, you know. And conversations are always hard. Like we're not the best talkers. Like we butt heads all the time. But to know that conversations might not go well, but you know, or conversations might go well, but to know that those little things are not going to pull you apart forever, you know. And you've just gone through so much. There's no use to end things or get really broken up over little things. Like little things can hurt you, but it's not going to end you. You know what I mean? Like you might be angry with each other over little things, but hey, you've been through worse. You know, you got to be able to conversate, and conversations can be hard, especially when.
But also, you know, sometimes our little things are like the big ass things.
Yeah.
I say, hi man, this ain't small.
Yeah.
But it's true though. She's like, what are you angry for? What are you angry
Yeah. Oh, I totally understand. Yeah, little things, understandable. Honey.
No, I think it's just, I mean, like anything, is knowing that the end, we love each other and we're together and we've got a family and we've got the kids and stuff like that. And yeah, we're not always going to be coming together, but we, at the moment, because we've been through those hard things, he understands maybe when my shoulder starts to turn or I start to get quiet, he knows that I'm going into a place where I'm obviously he's done something, but or something's gone wrong and I'm struggling to, obviously talk about it, or vice versa. I know the same thing. If he goes into a quiet place or whatever, I can't just poke the bear and ask the questions because he doesn't respond to that. So we've known that as we've obviously gone through those times, but our end result, yes, we might have a fight and get quite emotionally caught up in it, and things can get heated and you can say some things that you'd probably are just in the heat of the moment, but our end result is that we love each other and there's no other part of it. It's just right now it's just not working, and obviously the bits aren't falling into place how we like it, and it's not smooth sailing, but it will calm down, because at the end of the thing, it's I'm here for you and you're here for me, and we'll figure it out, sort of thing.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. That's great answer.
It's such a good answer, and then I like what you said about you go through hard times and it makes you stronger. And I think one of the things, sometimes it can be sort of one of the unseen consequences of going through hard times, is sometimes there's scars and baggage that don't quite heal because you're still trying to move forward and provide and support each other. Have you had to have conversations where maybe some things in the past you guys haven't quite addressed them properly, and then it's over time, because you haven't addressed them, it's kind of forced you to sit down and be like, hey, actually, you know what, this thing, even though we're past it, but it's happened a while ago, but maybe we need to talk about this kind of thing. Have you had to have uncomfortable conversations, and what was it like for you guys to have to hash it out? Because there's no, you kind of have to go through it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's so real, because you do have scars and baggage, and you do carry things on, and that's one of the hardest things, is to forgive and forget. You can forgive, but it's hard to forget, and there's always that baggage. Totally understandable. And we have those same issues, and it's a constant thing to work through. And I guess, I don't know, we've had baggage in the past, and it's been really hard conversations, but we've always been able to sit down and talk it out, work it out, and thank goodness, like recently everything's been really good, and those scars are nice and deep, and hopefully we can keep them there, darling.
I just think that everybody has it, and it's just knowing that when they do come up and when they do fester, or if something does, it's allowing that person to have that time to be able to say how they feel about what's, obviously this has caused me to feel like this, and bring up that baggage again. And so then you can, at the time, because they do get smaller and smaller, but it does just allow that person to, I suppose, like when we've had our times and when we've gone into those places where we don't want to go or we don't like to be, but if it comes up, we do allow that person to obviously speak and say and feel that moment, and then obviously we deal with it and move on. And because I feel like if you don't address it there and then, and if it doesn't come up, it just festers again and becomes even bigger than it should have been in the first place. And sometimes it's just that, like I said, it's that conversation where you got to dip your toes back into that uncomfortable place again and then move on again. So it does get smaller, but it's just that having that time to hash it out.
I guess everybody has their moments, like it can come up again, but that it is just a moment, and it will pass. Everything passes. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome, Dogo. And you're right, I think a lot of couples will go through those times, especially when you're kind of distressed or stressed, and then sometimes little things happen, and you just kind of bring back those memories and rehash those things in the past, and then we just kind of lash out. But you're right, it will pass. And because I think the greatest thing, what you just said, Dee, that you love your husband 100%, and vice versa. Joe loves you so much as to why this relationship in terms of you guys being together and your kids has just been a wonderful combination. But to F45, Togo, was that always part of the plan before coming back home, or was that something that you just felt, you know, when you came back, like, let's just give it a go? Tell us how this whole thing entailed.
So we came back to New Zealand. We had no idea what we were going to do, and I think we spent about 3 months, you know, trying to figure it all out. And those were boring 3 months. We were just sitting on the couch, like, what are we going to do? Looking for work. But luckily, you know, I did some work as a builder. I did some work at the local rec centre. You know, I helped out my brother around the house, little things like that. And we saw the opportunity online. And we're lucky that, you know, my brother is a huge investor, and he's invested in us, invested in me and Daneka, and helped us out. So the opportunity just popped up, you know. And my background is I studied exercise science in the States. So my background, I always wanted to help athletes get scholarships in the States. That was my biggest, you know, that's the thing that I really wanted to work on. And then, you know, we looked at starting a gym or buying a gym or something like that, and we saw, you know, F45 Manukau come up, and we're like, hey, you know, shall we try? Shall we give it a go? My brother was in it 100%. He said, yeah, man, you look, you know, I can front the money. We can, you know, put this together. You know, I believe in you too. Let's go. So I'm really lucky. You know, my brother saw that we're passionate people, and something. You know, not everybody has a brother that can help you out like that. So we were really lucky, and we were able to purchase the gym. And yeah, it's been a great last. How's it been? 5 months now.
Man, fast, eh?
8 months.
8 months.
8 months. Yeah, sorry. No.
Fast,
Yeah, it goes
It is
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
man, shout out to your brother, man. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Support.
And you know, he was a big part of our relationship too, because early on he would always pay for my flights to come back to New Zealand. You know, every time I wanted to come home, and it was basically every 6 months, be like, hey bro, I need to come home, you know. And yeah, no worries, you know, he'd throw the money in there and get me home. And he's just supported me. He's my older brother, and he's just supported me all the way through. I mean, not everybody has that, so we were really lucky.
Yeah. What's your brother's name?
Sam. Yeah, Sam. You might have met him. He's a member. But he's always been, you know, top notch. So shout out to Sammy. Thanks, bro.
Did you guys have to learn the whole exercise, the industry around, like everything around F45?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah,
mind blowing.
We were kind of given the keys, and that was it. We kind of had a little bit of I think it was about a couple of hours to learn the system, and then we got thrown, and we hadn't run a business before, or we hadn't done anything on this caliber, you know. So I only ran my household. I didn't know how to do all the paperwork in this extreme. So we literally had a week, and I think we had a first challenge come up, and I was like, what's the challenge? Like I had, you kind of were like, we were on Instagram looking at other people, what other people were doing. Obviously from our members, we were kind of like sliding the little questions like, so what did you guys do last time? Kind of to get that understanding. And obviously with us too, we wanted to be on the floor, and we wanted to really feel what our members either were missing or what they needed or what have you. So that's how we sort of just learnt it as we go. I'd push a button on the computer and go, hope this is going through, kind of thing. That was a really hit and miss, and we just learnt to ask the questions, and we get the feel for what we wanted to do. But it was obviously Joe, this is his passion, and obviously he loves this kind of thing. So when we went with it, I mean, I'll do all the paperwork in the background. I don't mind doing all that stuff. But this is where he was, and I just thought, you know, it was just to go for it and give it a go. Yeah,
like just the opportunity popped up, and we just jumped on it straight away. You know, and we've had to learn everything on the go, you know, taxes, scheduling, you know, paying, yeah, oh man, you know, and then working in the industry. But it's been really, you know, mind opening to learn all these things and to see what other people go through. I mean, it's such a challenge, and you know, like I always thought, hey, these guys own a business, you know, man, they must be raking in the money, you know, all that kind of stuff. But you know, for small business owners in New Zealand, it's really tough. Figuring everything out, you know, franchise fees, everything like that. You know, and I think we've built a great environment at our gym. You know, we're on site all the time. We want our members to be happy and, you know, having fun, and it's my passion. You know, I love fitness and sport and everything like that, and I just want to make sure that, you know, we have a place where people can come to and they feel at home. You know, like we only get so much time to ourselves, and to be able to go to a place where you feel comfortable and you feel like you can have fun and people are there to pat you on the back and, you know, make sure you're having a good time and working for your own health and fitness and stuff like that. Creating a place like that is so important. You know, that's one thing that I'm so passionate about, and I'm happy that we've gone into this industry, and you know, that we can grow a business, and hopefully over the next few years we can, you know, grow a few more. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Does Pete turn up to his classes or?
Hey, you know what?
I try.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, ebbs and flows, right? Ebbs and flows. No, Pete's been back. He's been going hard, you know, and it's good to see. Patir and his wife Caroline and Charlize, they're all members at the gym, and they all come in, and you know, it's so awesome to see a group of people come in and work so hard. Charlize, Patir's daughter, man, she's amazing. She comes in, she works out so hard every time. She does doubles. She comes in, you know, does 2 sessions in a day. Sometimes she makes our male, you know, members, you know, like look sideways, like, holy cow, she's lifting the same as me. What's going on? You know, but hey, shout out to the Wilsons. You know, they working hard. So yeah, good to have them at the gym.
And, you know, with all the challenges around finding the business and everything going on and just moving back, like what's been the biggest highlight in terms of like opening the gym and the people that you guys get to connect with on the daily?
For me, man, it's to see the growth, like people that have come in, not, you know, like F45, they look at it and say, oh yeah, you know, like they have certain thoughts about it, you know, tough sessions, weight loss, stuff like that. But to see people come in and just, you know, see them come back, see them putting in the work, you know, like we try and keep records of how people work each time. So when they come in, we might have a ski erg, and, you know, I always take what they've done on that ski erg and I keep it. So for the last 8 months, I've got records on all the members and all their ski erg numbers, and I'm constantly typing that in. And mate, to see people come in, you know, and their ski erg numbers have started at like 300 and all of a sudden they're at 1,000, you know, like, man, these people come in here and they work so hard, and to see them progress. I mean, and that's the amazing thing, is to see people progress over time, and that's one of the most important things for me. You know, you might not see the weight loss, you might not see the work they do every day, but hey, look, those numbers don't lie. You know, they show that you're putting in that work and you're working hard, and it's just amazing to see people grow. And that's one of the biggest things for me, is just to see people grow and become their best selves. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more just to see the journey that they go on, because sometimes F45 has a stigma of being it's hard. It's 45 minutes and it's a slog, and people are going to fall on. You see people on the ground. It's, you know, and that's what's hard, because some people just find it really hard to walk through the door. And I think we try to capture when they do walk through the door, to have that moment where they feel like, oh no, this is actually, I can achieve. I want to achieve, and it might be the smallest things, but we try to really, you know, incorporate that achievement. And we've got some members that didn't say a word to us when we first turned up. You know, we would come in and then leave again, and we were very quiet. But now they're chatting and we hear about their day and all that, and for me, that's what I enjoy. I really love seeing them being a part of something and seeing them loving being a part of something. So I think for us, and I mean, he can do all the numbers and he's he does that, but I really enjoy seeing the people that walk through the door shy and very timid about the whole, you know, gym atmosphere, but then becoming a member that turns up every day and is enjoying it and loves putting their attendance dot up on the board, or, you know, and then telling me about their day and how they've, you know, what they've done and what they're going to do and how they achieve, and then the high five and the smile when they walk out. So for me, that's the biggest highlight that I, you know, really thrive on when I go to work too.
That's me. I think we need to come and record an episode one day. We'll all come and do a workout. So just so we witness if Pete's doing his burpees and if his numbers gone up, and then we'll put it up there.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
Oh. Hey man, thanks, Toko. But yeah, it is like you said, D. You weren't kidding. He is passionate. You are. It's just that segment you were just talking about F45, Joe. You're very passionate, and the work that you both do, because I can attest, because I've been there when I do come. But but it is, you make it such an amazing environment where people want to be there. It is kind of like a real family. You know, people come in and people talk, people laugh. But they're laughing during the workout, and it can be quite a bit of a slog. But because of what you guys do, and because of your nature and the presence, and you guys are really on the ground, making sure people feel welcome. It's an amazing environment, and that's props to you guys for making this work, and props for you for taking the helm of F45. You both. And making it work for everyone else that comes. And I can guarantee, I always hear positive things about what you guys do. So mere props to you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, just to add to that, I mean, we've always been part of a team, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. We want everybody in our team, and you know when a team does well is when everybody's tight and work together. So that's important for us.
Just right now we're on a challenge, so Team Blue all the way.
Team red. We're on opposite sides, so a little bit clashing heads there. But yeah.
And that's really interesting. I love the passion, and when I think about some of the best experiences I've had have been in terms of working out and stuff. Have been at F45 in the past, but I'm always curious because I suppose on my own health journey is like trying to find the right place, and my struggle has always been like, how do places where you feel intense pain and hard work, like how do you build true community? How do you find heart? Because that's always what I look for. Like I'll travel, I almost feel like a nomad where like I'll go try something and it sounds really cool, website looks awesome, go in there, cool music and all that, but just something's like the heart is missing, and I'm still yet to find the place where I can really connect and be like, this is my community, like this is my people. So I'm curious in terms of, you have such unique backgrounds in terms of being professional athletes and then coming down now to help other people, have some of this fire, some of this passion. What do you think in your mind is the secret to generating a great community in your business, but just in general in terms of building a team? You mentioned team. What's the secret ingredient, the key ingredient to building a great team?
Ooh, I don't know. I guess being genuine. I mean, it's my passion. It's something I'm so invested in, and I don't know, like I said, being part of a team, I always want my teammates to thrive. I always want the best for them. I think that's been a part of me, is that I always want the best for my teammates. I want my team to be doing well, and just having that environment where I can go and pat you on the back, you can pat me on the back. Like I read something, we're all pack animals. We're like wolves, like we want to cheer together. We want to slap hands. We want to, like hug each other and go through those experiences. Like we're pack animals, like that's what we live for, and I worked at Manirewa and at the pools and leisure there, and I just remember, man, seeing like people after their workout, they'd always be high-fiving and chee-hooing and like helping pick up weights and helping the trainers put stuff away, and people could come and talk to you about anything, anything you wanted to chat about, they'd be there for you. And I just looked back and I was like, far out. I hope I'm a part of something like that, where people are just so genuine and like can get along with each other and share anything with each other, and a gym or anywhere, your workplace, anything like that, you want to have those experiences. And I think having a family, like, I don't know, you're working, you only get 1% of your day to actually focus on you, You know, when you go to the gym, you want it to be a great experience. You know, you want to feel happy. You want to feel excited to go. I mean, you might not feel happy because the workout's hard or something like that, but you want to be able to walk in. It's easy to walk in. You know, you don't want it to be a chore to walk in. You want it to be easy to walk in, and that's the most important thing. And just having that family vibe. I guess, you know, coming from a family that's tight, really tight, being in teams that have been tight, especially playing for the Ikale tahi, you know, like you're from a small nation and it's like you against the world, you know, and that's such a tight-knit family. And I want that same kind of feeling when you walk into our gym or anybody's gym, really, you know, like that family environment. Like, I don't know, you know, like I just want everybody to be happy to be there, you know. Just create that environment.
No, I mean, that's it. You said everything. I mean, like you said, we're there for the people, and we want them to succeed in whatever it is. And if it comes down to, I mean, I know when I was in my peak, I hated training. I have anything to do with running around a track or doing anything that was not shooting, just shooting the goal. I despised it. Like, I didn't enjoy it at all. So I know that when it is hard to walk through the door and it is hard to sometimes do it, but, you know, like the feeling that you have that's after a training session like that, when you've done it with a buddy or you've done it with a friend that's in the same boat as you, they're probably hurting just as bad as you, or, you know, even worse, hopefully it's at times, but it's more, yeah, it's just having that achievement that I've done it, like, you know, and ticking it off and getting those endorphins of like, wow, I've done that, I want to do better next time, you know, that sort of thing, and having that group together. But yeah, it is bringing that team together, and we always try and find that, you know, that little 1% of how we can be that community to come together. And obviously at the moment we enjoy, you know, trying to bring them together, not just with F45. We want to look for other things like outside, to do things that are, you know, outside together, or, you know, because everybody has their strengths in different areas, and obviously some of them are really good at the aerobic sides in the gym, some of them are really good at doing the strength training sides of things and that, but we want them to enjoy, okay, well, it's time to go for a run now, but everybody enjoying it in their own sort of sense. So we always try and look for something else to, you know, to try and bring them together. And that's why we like being on the ground, I suppose, because we can really get the feel from each other, or from the other groups, or from the members, of what they really like and what they don't like, and how we can try to, you know, adjust the trainings to really fit everybody into the mould, I suppose.
Man, that's cool. I can tell that you guys both genuinely enjoy helping other people through their own journeys. When everything sits on your shoulders, as it does as business owners, can it be tiring sometimes to have that energy to, like, you know, because I know it must feel good, and even if it's your passion, sometimes people get tired of their passion. You're not always 100% like, yeah, let's go every second of the day. Is it tiring when everything falls on you and you still have to, like, keep the energy going, even if you're personally not quite feeling it?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But I guess, you know, like I said, I'm passionate about it. And when you're waking up in the morning, I mean, my alarm goes at 3:50 in the morning, and you know, it's always tough. You know, 3 or 4 days into the week, and now I've got to get up again. Okay, you got to get your vibe back up. But when you see people come in and, you know, they've done the early morning 6 days in the week, you know, they've got up every morning to come in and bust their ass at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, why can't I be there as well to help them? And I you know, when I see, we've got members that'll come to every class 6 days a week, 5 o'clock sessions every morning. I'm like, man, I don't know if I could do that, you know. So waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be there, to give them an opportunity to come in and have their workout and do their thing, you know, that kind of drives me as well. And oh man, big ups to some of our members, because, you know, their energy to come in every morning is amazing, and you just want to give that back to them and help them through that situation. So I guess that's what drives me too, you know, that what helps me get through the day is to know that, hey, look, they're putting in the work, I got to do the same, you know. So yeah.
It's the members. I mean, they lift you up. Like you might be having there's times that we could get home and we're like, oh my gosh, it's been a long day or what have you. But it's when you go in and it's you get that vibe from them. Like they walk in, that they've obviously, some of them are feeling it, some are not feeling it. So you really get the vibe off them. And as soon as that welcoming thing starts to click on, I think you just go into another drive of knowing, okay, this is 45 minutes. Let's hit the road, ground running. So it's. You really get that vibe. You can have your low days as well, but I think that just all turns off as soon as the green light turns on. It's all go, and I mean we enjoy it. We just love it at the moment, and I mean maybe ask us in 10 years' time if we still love it, if we're still there. But at the moment it's ticking along nicely, and we try and offload it off each other. At the moment he does all the early mornings, so I do the stuff at home, but and then I come in the evenings and do the evening shifts and stuff like that. So we try and keep that balance as much as we can, and if we see him dipping and he needs a sleep, then obviously I'll jump in there and let him do. But
the career's over, no more massages.
Here's the gun.
Yeah, here's the gun. Exactly. She's massaging now for money, so I'm to the side. I don't pay, so unlike you.
We've talked about a lot of your guys' challenges, but what are some of the highlights and some of the things that you guys have learned about each other that's really made you guys, that's blown you guys away in terms of knowing how each other tick, knowing when you guys need a date night, knowing when, hey mom, dad, can you look after our kids? Some time away.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that's really important, right? To find that time for each other. And we haven't been on a date night for a while, eh, honey? Might have to do that tomorrow maybe. And to realize we haven't done it in a while. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's one of the most important things, is to know when you need each other, because you've got the kids, you got a job, you've got other things, but to get back into that, hey, we need each other as well. So tomorrow it is. Let's go.
You make sure tomorrow. I'm gonna ask you tomorrow.
So no classes.
Hey, coffee date.
I'll come run your class.
No, but we try every now and then coffee date, a little something to get away and just have that time just to have a conversation with each other about little things, not work or anything like that.
Yeah, it's cool. Hey, Joe, because you mentioned you're probably thinking of having more. I don't know, more F45 or the franchises.
We can say have more kids.
Tomorrow.
He was like, hey, you never tell me.
We've had that conversation about kids. I wish we had more kids, but no. Two, and we're happy.
I've got 3.
Yeah.
That's what my wife said.
Yeah.
But in terms of the franchises, are you thinking in future sense, are you thinking of having some more F45s, or are you thinking of something totally different?
So my time in the States, I trained. While I was playing American football, I trained to go into the NFL draft, and going through that whole situation of working out in these massive gyms where they're trying to get athletes ready for the Olympics or for the NFL, NBA. They're trying to get high school students ready for college, everything like that. So I've always had this dream of a training center, a place where kids from high school can go to better themselves. The professional athletes can work out. A place where we got hot tubs, cold tubs, recovery. We got physios, massages. It was so walking into a place like that in 2003, the first time, and seeing this, a one-stop shop where everybody can go, they can work out, they can do recovery, and that when I saw that, I was like, that's, I want to build that in New Zealand. And I mean, back then the gym industry, was nowhere near where it is now. There's a gym on every corner now. and there are places like that starting to pop up, you know, in New Zealand. And once again, that opportunity, it was to give athletes an opportunity, and I wanted to get that in New Zealand and give, you know, kids in New Zealand and South Auckland a chance to get scholarships, to go over to America, because, you know, like, you can get free education. And that was what I wanted to do, is I wanted to open a training center where kids can go and, you know, train, get stronger, get faster, and get an opportunity to better themselves, to eventually maybe go over to America, you know, NBA, NFL, these huge industries over there, you know, get them opportunity to go over there. There's so much talent in New Zealand, so much talent. And, you know, even if it's the NRL or something like that, you know, and to, you know, growing up and seeing kids slip through the gaps, you know, I went to high school, you know, intermediate with these amazing athletes, guys that I was like, you should be an All Black, you know. But as their life went on, you know, there's certain things happened, opportunities didn't come their way, you know, injuries or things like that. And, you know, I just thought, hey, like, there's so much talent here. I want to find a pathway for these people to move on, you know, and take those opportunities in their fists and go hard. And I think those things are building now. But yeah, when I said, you know, other things, that's my ultimate dream, is to open a place like that. So hey, F45 will start there, and hopefully we can transition into something else. But we'll see.
It's awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. Man, so you're thinking of a massive complex academy, or just sports academy, or kind of?
Yeah, a training center. Place for kids to better themselves.
It's an awesome dream.
Yeah.
Something we need, especially for Southside. Like, we have different pockets of it, and but man, we got some of the most talented kids here in our own backyard, and all they need is that little bit of opportunity and a platform, and it's cool you're dreaming like that, and hopefully it comes to fruition. And I know you got a supportive wife that will be like, oh, another dream, okay, I'll do it, we'll get there. So,
I haven't asked her yet. Can I do that?
He's like,
she's looking at you like, what did you want to do? Oh my. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask, because you mentioned ultimate dream. Well, what's your ultimate dream, D?
Oh God! I mean, with him obviously doing the sporting side, so I've always sort of, my passion at the moment is I love sports massage. So like, I love healing. Obviously he can do all the hurting and the thing, and I can heal them afterwards. But that's definitely something that I've always loved. I did it for a year. Obviously I did it down in Southland before I had Kailani, and then I found out I was pregnant with her. So I obviously went overseas and put my studies to the side. But once I got back into it, I've really enjoyed it, and it's a huge passion. And I got the big ups. They're saying that you're pretty good at it from the one and only. But obviously, I've always loved doing it. I've always, even when I received as an athlete, I loved receiving a massage, and it was something that I kind of wanted to go down to. I thought physio was something that I kind of liked to do, but I've actually really enjoyed doing massage. And you know, seeing someone fall asleep in a deep sleep on the bed is quite rewarding as a massage therapist. And I think that's what I'd love to do, and I'd love to open up or have here. I find it's we're very short with massage therapists in the sporting sides of things, but to have, you know, a group of us that can be able to be on call for, you know, the Springbok or anybody that comes into, you know, New Zealand, I think that's something that I'd like to open up. But at the moment it would be just my own little clinic or a little room off the gym that we want to open, and then awesome. Just have my own little place where people can come and go from there. But
so Nicky. It's just your passion.
Where's the massage gun?
So you're a massage for the Warriors?
At the moment. So
man, how's that team going, man?
Must be the
Everyone's been praising Webster, but Hey.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think we've stood in this conversation. No, but it's been pretty epic. We arrived back into New Zealand, and I got the opportunity. I had a friend. He actually plays for the New Zealand men's team, and he's a massage therapist and was working with the boys, but also with Moana Pacific boys, and he needed a therapist at the time, and I said I did it, and so it sort of just fell into working with them, and then the opportunity with the Warriors have come up and they're doing really well, so my contract's been extended. So awesome. It's been obviously working with them, and I work with them on a weekly basis, and then had the Moana Pacific, and then work with the netball girls as well. So it's been nice to sort of go back into the sporting world of things, but on a different level. So I've been working with the boys. I actually did them just the other day, and then we go in and get on a Friday, but it's quite awesome. They're a different bunch, and they're just the vibe that they have at the moment, and obviously the team environment that they've got going on at the moment is huge. To be a part of that is pretty special. I mean, even just to be in the stands at the moment with, being a supporter, if you're a hardcore supporter with a jersey on, it's pretty epic. But, being in the changing rooms and getting them ready for the game is probably another thing as well.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be the part of the reason why they're doing so good.
You're the X factor as to why they're succeeding. But man, I just wanted to add as well, because obviously in terms of your careers and so forth, and you guys are very busy people. But in terms of culture, because it would be nice to kind of get from you guys in terms of the culture. Obviously, you're Tongan, Daneka Tuineau, Māori. But in terms of culture, does that obviously must play a big part in terms of who you are as an individual, but it'd be nice to hear kind of in terms of how's that imparted in you in terms of who you are, but also as your identity.
Yeah. So it's been really cool because my daughter's really got into dancing the taulunga. So, I don't speak Tongan, but I got a large Tongan family. My father's one of 18, so I've got a lot of cousins and aunties and uncles. And I've always wanted, because I don't speak Tongan, and that was always a kind of shame for me. So having my daughter learn taulunga, and I wanted to learn the language, and she's getting passionate about it, and seeing that is just so awesome. I want my kids to have that identity. I was born in Fiji. I grew up speaking a little bit of Fijian. Moved to New Zealand. I didn't have a huge background with my Tongan father. So to have that with my kids, and now she's learning the poi, and she's in the cultural group at school. So having that identity is just so cool, and I hope she carries on and she learns the languages, and she's passionate about it, because that little shame that I had, and I hope that she blossoms into what I wasn't, being able to do all the cultural things with my family, being able to do the taulunga dance, at big festivals or whatever, learning the Māori culture, everything like that, and that's important for us because it's part of our identity. It's part of where we came from, and we probably, myself and Daneka, we probably missed that part of our upbringing because we both don't speak the language, but being able to have our kids flourish into that, that's just it's been really cool and amazing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I mean, obviously I was like he was just saying, the generation where I think my dad was ashamed to speak Māori, and you couldn't look Māori in ways, you had to try and be a part of the society at the time, and he obviously, and it relayed back to us, but so we hardly went to the maraes or learnt any of that sort of stuff growing up, and obviously doing the Māori culture at school was probably the closest we got to being who we were as an identity. So obviously growing up it was really hard, and then obviously going to France, it was a whole different thing for my daughter, because she literally turned up to France at 1.5, I think she was, and then she left when she was 12. So she she only knew the French culture. She only knew how to speak, she spoke French fluently. She was and learnt their ways a lot of the time. So, and then when we came home, so it was a huge thing. She came home and she's like, Mum, I'm in the culture group and we're learning the dances, we're learning this. And just to see her light up like that, because she was learning part of her family, was obviously something we both were like, we love to see. So, so it's a huge part. And we let them, I said, do what you want to do. Like, I won't hold her back on anything like that. And she obviously goes with grandma and grandpa to all the, the dances, the family gatherings, and learns that I think she learned to dance in 2 days, and then she got up in front of the whole family and did it and stuff like that. And she just thrived on it. And I mean, she made mistakes and she did it, but she still did it. And I think that was the biggest thing for, I think, most of people, is that failing, failing. But she's taken it 2 hands, and I think, for her, it's, I said to her, just to learn and enjoy it, because you're Māori Tongan, so there's not many around, and obviously she's a bit of a special one because she's nearly 6'3", I think, at 13. So she's going to stand out. So she's definitely going to, I think, fly the flag for both of us in regards to being, proud.
That must be a massive bonus. Coming home and seeing that for your children, and probably for her, I don't know. Did she feel like coming back and then seeing people that look like her? It's like, oh my gosh,
that was
something that's been missing.
That was the first thing. She kind of walked. We were at a street. It was actually Lonnie's daughter. We obviously were in the last club, and obviously Lonnie has a daughter that looks very similar to our daughter. And we were walking down the street, and she was like, "Mum, there's Lonnie or Yaya." And I said, "Oh no, darling, that's." And she was like, "But she looks like Yaya." And I said, "Yes." And then she went down the street. She goes, "She looks like Yaya too." And then she realised there was a lot of people around that looked like her, because obviously in France again, they're very tiny, like I'm telling you, small. And my daughter, even my son, they stood out like anything. I mean, in one class photo we have, my son looks like an actual teacher in the photo because he's taller than the teacher. So those sort of things, they really, really stood out. So obviously coming home and feeling a part of something, because again, they looked like the community. They looked like the people that were just walking down the street and loving it. And that's what I think was something that we, obviously the reason, probably another big pull, is why we wanted to come home as well.
That's awesome. That's so fascinating. I just think it must be cool to come back, like you mentioned, and then there must be pieces of themselves that will only click in place because they've come and experienced a season of their life here. Has the journey between your daughter and your son been similar in terms of that cultural journey? Because I know even if kids are within the same family, different personalities, they'll take up different things. How's it been for Gio? Has it been similar sort of trajectory in terms of embracing aspects of his culture?
Well, he loves being with the grandparents, and my dad is he's classic Tongan, and so he goes along to church with him. He's learned to be an altar boy, hold the cross, do those things at church, and he's been to the cultural things, the dances, the festivals, the dinners, the whaikava as well. So for him, I'm not sure. He hasn't really jumped at it and started to. He's actually started to talk a bit of Māori, speak a little Māori, learn a little bit of the language. So it's really cool. But no, my daughter's she's gone full into it. She's sitting at home looking at YouTube, trying to learn dances, and I never thought she would do that. But man, she loves it, and that learning her culture is just awesome. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's a good time at the moment, with the revitalization of Te Reo, and then everyone's Pacific culture on display. Yeah. Were you guys here? Have you guys been a part of the parades during the World Cups in the NZ yet? Since being back?
No.
Oh man. Wait until MMT come around and the World Cups come around. Man, it's been crazy.
When you were
in 2011 here in New Zealand. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't.
That was pretty hectic.
That was probably the most.
I act like you guys been away for
that was one of the
30
most.
years.
Well,
for me it was.
No, 2011 in New Zealand. That was outrageous.
See the movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. No, that's on my bucket list. I got to see that.
You're part of that team.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that just cemented, you know, oh man. No, just that was absolutely amazing, you know, and just to be lucky enough to be in that situation, to play in that team, to be around those people, you know, so many amazing athletes, and just the pride to see, you know, it was funny because I think Samoa had come in a few days earlier, and it was like the Tongan people were like, hey, come on, let's go. We got to show our support. We got to be awesome. And then the airport, you know, like freaking walking out in front of like, I'd never seen it, but you know, like it was something that nobody had really seen before, and you know, just having that, hey, look, man, mate matonga, you know, like, it was absolutely amazing, yeah. But hey, hopefully one day, you know, my daughter can experience something that, you know, if there's another World Cup in New Zealand, I'd love her to take along, or even a game, you know. Haven't done that yet, but that would be an awesome experience. Yeah.
And already, Joe, I saw Ikale this evening. I was driving back home and I saw the
flags were
flags
up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I saw the Fords and saw this white truck with the 4 Tongan flags. Like, oh man, it's already starting up the World Cup here. So
Samoan flags only come out when we're winning.
Hey, you're winning. You're winning. Yeah. So hey, this World Cup's going to be awesome, man. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to with the change in the rules, and you know, the squads that are the Tongan, the Samoans, the Fijians, they're all putting together, man. It's gonna be awesome. Can't wait for it.
I'm French. Bonjour. Quand touche the power.
Watch out for those French, man. They're going to be good too. Yeah.
And out of curiosity, and it might seem like a shallow question, but just because you guys have both been professional athletes, do you watch the sports that you used to play really fiercely and like critique it harder, or like super passionate? Like, what's it like watching the sports that you've been a part of at the highest level?
Oh, well, I've started coaching, so sitting down, man, it's so funny. I'm like, what is the coach thinking? Why would he train that certain thing? Why would he make the players do that? You know, and I'm like breaking down the match and like, look at those forwards, man. They shouldn't be in that situation. Oh, it's bad because I'm just sitting there talking to myself, and everybody's like, "What is this guy doing?" Yeah, but coaching and trying to do that. So I never used to be a big rugby watcher. Actually, all through my career, you know, I never really watched my own games. I didn't watch, you know, I never watched really the All Blacks either. Super Rugby wasn't a great big fan. I was always an American football guy. You know, that's a sport that I really watched a lot of. But now going into coaching, I'm just like, oh man, I just break down everything. It's ridiculous. I probably don't even really enjoy watching the game. You know, I'm just like breaking everything down. My mind,
play else sport.
The coach is here, man.
Anyway, Daneka.
Well, I mean, I didn't get to watch netball a lot when I left to go to France because they didn't have it. They don't know what netball is, or we didn't have it on the screens, or obviously streaming and doing all that sort of. I sort of left it. I wouldn't even, when I flew back, I wouldn't even have known a silver fern if I fell over them, sort of. But just recently, obviously being in the Netball World Cup, I did watch a few of the games, and I probably was not critical, but I was like, oh my goodness, they didn't pass it over here. Or obviously the game's changed a lot from, it's a lot faster, and obviously there's a few rules that I didn't know, and I did yell at the TV why that was that way, but then my sister reinformed me that the short pass and all that sort of stuff has changed. So but no, I mean, it was nice to watch, you know, nice to be there and watching the girls again, and obviously being massaging, I knew a few of them, but I don't critique. I never watched it when I was, you know, going through any of my games. I mean, I really hated even watching myself on the television and getting critiqued by the coach. So and I don't coach it or anything like that, but yeah, it was nice to watch, and you know, as a, you know, to come back, but yeah, it was hard to watch at the same time because the results, I suppose. But other than that,
Oh, that's cool. And do the kids play sports?
Yes.
What's that like then?
Yeah,
that's hard,
man, that's
being us. It's very hard, but we try very hard because my son plays soccer. So again, we had to learn. That was a very French, obviously a European. So he plays soccer. So we had to learn that, and I found that very frustrating to watch. I was like, why can't they kick it, or they can't go that way or this way, or... And with my son, like, you know, just even sometimes you'd sit back and watch and I'd be like, go, keep going, why are you standing? Like, you know, kind of thing. So that we had to learn very quickly to be the parent that didn't say so much. And then obviously my daughter took up basketball. So she's she played basketball in France. And then, and again, we had to be those parents that didn't give out so much information, because then she was looking at me, but Mum, the coach said this, and here I am yelling at her to do something, and she didn't know. She didn't want to say, no, Mum, I can't listen to you because I've got to listen to the coach because I'm Mum. And at the same time, so we really struggled with it at the start, because we were firing things left, right, and centre, being those parents, and so we came pulled back on that. But my daughter plays basketball, and my son plays soccer, and she has gone into netball, my daughter. She didn't obviously know anything about it, because when we first got here, she was like, why are they wearing letters on the Mum? Like, she's got a GS, she's got a centre, what is that? Like, you know, where is the backboard kind of thing? Because she hadn't really, she saw me play it, but she was 1.5, like, and then in France they just didn't have it. So she came back in, and obviously, being the size and height she is, she's been slotted back into goal shoot, and the first thing I got was, man, that was boring, Mum. Did you do that all your career? So I got that, and I was like, well, actually, yeah, Mummy, that's what she did. And she was like, whoa, boring, like, because she's such a basketball person. She likes the physicality, she likes to dribble, she likes to go to the hoop. To stand there and put your hand up and just ask for the ball's pretty boring. So she's adapting, she's enjoying it. I mean, she's just come off a tournament, she just played it today, so she likes it, but at the same time she will veer to basketball. If there was a netball and a basketball game, she would go to the basketball game for sure. Yeah.
Fair enough. And what's it like in terms of, because as professional athletes, you're doing your best to win. So having, as parents, you want your kids to have fun and put in their best effort, but how do you help them overcome the disappointment that comes with sometimes things don't go your way?
Ever step in your mouth. Your coach, he's useless. I'm the one who paid.
Ikale have conversations with the kids. And
man, you know, one of the toughest things is to not yell. You know, to be on the sideline and not be like, you know, it's yelling out stuff to her, and not getting so frustrated. You know, like I see things all the time about that conversation after the game. You know, when they haven't had a good game and you're there sitting in the back, and you're just like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you step that way? Why didn't you pass this way? And da-da-da. But you know, the kids are there to have fun, eh? And I think one of the hardest things for me is that I've been so competitive my whole life, and I'm like, why aren't you competitive? Why aren't you trying? You know, you should be out there freaking shooting the ball 10 times a day, and you should be running hills and doing all this kind of stuff. But I forget how she's just got home from school. She's got it back from school. You know, she's had training and stuff. You know, she's not a professional athlete. She's still figuring out how to go to school and, you know, working with friends and everything like that. And you know, Daneka said to me, hey, look, calm down, you know, like, she's got to figure it out as well. And just trying to pull yourself back as well, you know, like, you're so involved with the kids, you want them to do well. But sometimes you got to realize, hey, they're not professional athletes yet, you know, like, give them a break. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So good, man. So good. I'm just so good, man. I know what you mean, man.
We laugh about because our kids, me and my wife,
yeah,
you know, watched both our kids go through their sports. But I'm not the competitor one. I'm like, I have fun. Or if it's depending on the sport. But my wife, man, she'll be like, she's a basketball person, and my son's playing basketball. She'll be like, and I'll be, they're gonna coach me. You're confusing.
Yeah, that's it. It's been. We're like you said, being an athlete, and that we've already. I suppose as soon as Kailani came out, she had a high threshold, and he was like, we had our first interview. Well, what do you think she's going to play? And he was like, I really don't mind what she does. She could be a ballerina. But obviously that was, you know, not the case. But it was like we've set such a high standard because because we set high standards for ourselves as we've gone out. So I feel sorry for our children in ways, but we've just had to learn, like really learn to really pull back or just close our eyes and hope for that to go past, and then, you know, build on whatever she's doing. And at the end of the day, we've both said if as long as they're happy and enjoying it, that's all that matters. And I mean, watching my son is a bit of a character. He's so different to my daughter in regards to being competitive and stuff like that. So it's nice to have probably the two where you can sort of filter one aspect of your, you know, coaching to another person. Because I mean, we can yell at Gio. I have no idea what I'm yelling, so I feel like it just goes in one ear and out the other anyway. So I can get my outlet there, certain thing.
That's great advice. I think for a lot of parents, I know I can imagine, because I see a lot of parents on the sidelines and they're like, yeah, come on, yelling, especially in football, because football can be quite competitive as well in terms of some of the coaches and also some of the players in Eastern Suburbs. Is, you know, it's quite a big club. But you're right, great advice, and I will take that on board. Thank you very much. Because I'm one of those guys. I'm like, get my poor son get in the back of the car. My best son.
The debrief. I'm sure our kids just hate the debrief. They're always in the back of the car, like just like, oh, shush.
But I've learned you and because I usually like, come on, son, Phoenix. But I've learned now, like I just kind of like, hey, just leave him. So I've just learned just when I'm like kind of getting a bit angry, like, oh, just do that face, like, and then you know, oh, okay, yeah. So that's great advice for parents out there, man.
Do you think in the way that, like you'd mentioned before, that the game had changed for your respective sports, do you think in the same sense, like you'd mentioned, Joe, about, you know, drilling something, a skill, like 100 times or whatever, however many times until you've kind of mastered it, do you think in the same way that the game has changed, that like being successful at sports, it is also quite different today compared to how it was?
I think people have conversations about, you know, upbringing and the change and athletes, you know, being more prima donnas and, you know, trying to get things their own way and, you know, maybe not making that commitment. You know, back in the day, if you made a commitment to do something, you put, you know, your soul into it, you put everything into it. Whereas, you know, kids these days, they've got so many distractions, you know, with computers and iPads and, you know, not being able to get out and be physical, you know, and seeing kids training and stuff like that, you know, maybe they don't have that same work ethic that maybe we had back in the day. Maybe they've had less opportunities to get out and be more involved in sport. I think, you know, it's coming back to New Zealand from a French perspective and how they have their sports set up. You know, kids are so involved, and they're involved from a young age, and they stay in their certain sports and they train year round, you know, and to come back here and find the structure. I'm talking maybe about basketball mainly, and the structure's not there for these kids to really thrive and you know, compete in different ways. But you know, just thinking that things have changed a little bit over the years. Maybe I'm just talking, you know, just to talk, but the change in our kids over the last few years, you know, coming from being active and being out and playing sport and stuff, and maybe that activity is slowly declining, and that social aspect of sport that's so important. I mean, I'm working out at Karaka at the rugby club there in counties, and you know, they talk about the numbers in rugby just plummeting, you know, and teams not having that same personnel. And I think maybe it's coming from, you know, the amount of sports that are out there these days and the amount of activities that kids can do. But, you know, things are changing. I mean, women's sport is getting massive, and that's such a great opportunity for the women in New Zealand. But yeah.
No, I mean, like you said, but I mean, if I watch my daughter like just recently play basketball, and then obviously from my experience in that, I think it's just the want to do it, because I feel like there's some kids that come in with the attitude, I want to be here, I'm good at it, but you know, like it's just that desire. I know when I was growing up, I wanted to be at the training, I wanted to be playing, I wanted to be like putting on my netball skirt at the time and, you know, being in my uniform to represent, you know. And I feel like that's probably maybe died out a little bit. That I don't know. I know that when my daughter played for counties in particular, like to be in a rep team was huge back in my day. Like, you know, to make the New Plymouth, you know, like I was down in New Plymouth, and I was like, to make the New Plymouth under 15s team was huge, and it was like an honour and all that sort of stuff. And I just didn't feel when I was with her at the counties there was the same honour and that pride, I suppose, in it, because I just don't know, because I feel like they don't know where they go from there. Like there's just like, okay, I play for counties now, where, you know, where do I go now, what's my next step, what's my next drive, what's my next hunger that I want to go for. And I feel like maybe it's just because the sport's been diluted, or there is nothing there for them, or what have you. But I just find that the sport's changed in that respect. I don't know how it is higher, but I just found like in the kids' respect, I know when I was younger, it was always that want to be playing, and it was always that, you know, having that decision, do I go to basketball, or do I go to netball, or do I go, you know, where I wanted to go, like, because I just wanted to play, I just wanted to be wherever, you know, I could, because I really enjoyed and loved being a part of a team, or being in the teams that I was. So yeah, I just feel like there's a little bit of not the same commitment, and I don't know if it's the commitment sides of things, or you know, parents getting the kids to the sports, because I know that we struggle, you know, getting kids to every training all around Auckland. It's a huge demand in that on the kids, and maybe it's just having those opportunities. And like he said, in France, it was nice, you know, on a Wednesday, kids didn't go to school, they played sports. So we, you know, and they all turned up, and they had like the 2 o'clock, you knew what you were doing at 2 o'clock, the kids were all there, and there was never an opportunity where they didn't go to, because the kids just didn't go to school, like especially the younger kids didn't go to school on Wednesdays. It was literally, they would go to their sports, their chosen sports on that day, and they got to choose one sport because all the sports were on the same time. So, you know, and then that was something different as well. So I don't know, it was just that want, I suppose, or that change in that sort of aspect. That's what I found.
Maro lava. Hey, Joe and Dee, we are mindful of time as well, because I know you have to get up early.
Early morning session.
Early morning session again.
Jay's got to get up early too, try out his new environment.
Welcome.
I did have one more question, because you know, your journey in your relationships, it's quite a common thing in terms of professional athletes, and like being together for 20 years and going through the highs and lows. Like, what are some encouragements that you guys have learnt over the years that would be awesome for any young couples that are getting into this new relationship and they have to go through the long distance? They didn't have to go through what you guys went through in terms of phoning each other on your Nokias, and you couldn't video call each other and or text each other. But yeah, what are got any advice for your younger selves?
Oh, geez. Hey, I think we're in a good spot. We did it right. We got to where we are right now. Man, communication, just being able to talk to each other, it's one of the biggest things. You know, and I'm not a great communicator. I find it, you know, hard to find the right words to speak about. So I tend to go silent, and I probably did that a lot when we were younger. But man, it doesn't solve anything. You know, that silence doesn't solve anything. And I think now the quicker that we get to our conversation and organize, you know, exactly how we're going to fix whatever situation we are in at that time, just makes it easier, and then it's over with. Right, we're not going 1 week and not speaking to each other, or you know, little things like that. You know, boom, I felt angry at this moment. I said something that I shouldn't have said. Okay, honey, I'm sorry. Let's figure it out. You know, and I think coming from that standpoint, communication and just figuring it out as fast as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, especially in our younger times, like, obviously, is to not lose your identity. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, to do you, like, you do what you feel passionate about, and you let that person do what they feel passionate about. And if your paths are meant to be, they will stay in that, you know, in that path of going forward. But I just find that I think now, like, if I was saying it to I'm very grateful that I stayed probably here in New Zealand and he went to America, because I feel like if I just went over and followed, I probably would have been in the situation that we were in France, where I was, you know, probably in the back shadows a little bit. And obviously being what we've done, what we went through at the start allowed us to be able to do that in France, with a little bit more eye-opener of knowing what to do. But I think it is definitely just doing you and knowing what you want to do and what you want to achieve in life, and being able to tick those boxes and not have those boxes unticked is probably the biggest thing for us. Because I think, you know, like we did what we did, and how we've done it, we've navigated things a lot different. Some people are going to have the similar paths or different paths. Obviously, we're not all going to be the same, but what we did, what we achieved at the start of our relationship really helped us obviously achieve what we needed to do when we were especially over in France and doing that stuff.
Because I forget that our paths went different ways. You know, I left to America and Daneka was here in New Zealand, and you know, just having that faith that, hey, look, we might not, you know, be together. This might not end the way that we wanted to, but I still had a great opportunity that led me a different way. Like, and if I didn't take that opportunity, would we still be together now? I don't know. You know, if I felt resentment that I never got to go to America and do my thing, you know, would we still be where we are now? But I think, you know, Daneka telling me, hey, look, this is your opportunity, go and do it. And you know, and just having that faith that, hey, look, if we're together at the end, then you know, that's exactly where we should be. Or if we end up at different paths, then that's the way it is as well, you know, like, you know, but just having that, you got to do what you got to do, you know. Hey, we'll try and work it out. We'll do our best. And if we end up together, then that's where we are. And it worked out perfectly. So really happy that it worked out the way it did, because it only just made us stronger for where we are now.
Yeah, well said. Jay, did you have any other questions?
Where do I start? No. One of the things that comes to mind was just like, as a parent, being transparent. Like, if you think about your own upbringing and the relationship you had with your parents compared to the way that things are now and the relationship you have with your kids, how important is it to be transparent with your kids? And do you set a boundary around what you are transparent about and what you're not transparent about? How do you guys manage that flow of information and acknowledging some of the unpleasantries but the realities of life as a couple, as father, son, mother, daughter? How do you guys manage that?
Man, you know, communicating with kids, you know, wanting to get that right conversation across. That, I mean, you know, we're all human and we're all parents for the first time. So talking to your kids is always tough to get that right conversation, to get what you want across. And man, sometimes you muck it up. Like, you want to be talking about a certain thing and you end up freaking 3 miles away talking about something else, and then, you know, frustration. But still being able to have those conversations. You know, our daughter's 13 now. She's just had a boyfriend for the first time. So, you know, that was really tough to have that conversation about, hey, look, you can't be going out to your boyfriend's place and hanging around out there, you know. I'm, you know, but coming from a loving place, but also knowing that, you know, situations outside the house are hard to control. And, you know, like I said, we're all parents for the first time. It's the first time I've had to talk to my daughter about anything to do with a boyfriend, you know, so I'm not sure if I'm doing it right or, you know, and it's all about just learning as you go, and just trying to get that right message across. And it's always tough. It's always tough. I hope I got the message across to her that, you know, like being safe away from the house. And man, I'm a dad. I don't know about you know, talking to a girl about these things. I think
stuff's might come in.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, but I'm a guy, you know. I know. I was that age too. I was the boyfriend that so I know, you know, kind of what goes through his head. And So I'm like, hey,
Please fill me in.
I have stories to tell. But my daughter will be watching this.
No, but I think as a parent, we try and keep on the same, like when we're fronting any situation or we're doing anything that's confrontational, or like obviously if there's rules in the house, we always make sure that we're on the same page together. And obviously we set a standard and we'll keep that standard. And obviously we try not to do, well, go ask your father or go ask mum or whatever and play each other off. So we always have that standard in the house and making sure that we're on the same page. And even if it doesn't go, like he might be saying something and I don't feel it's right, I will never like override him in that situation. We will always talk about it afterwards. So and we keep that front so the kids know that, you know, all mum and dad are on that same page. And maybe afterwards we're not on the same page when we discuss it, but we try and keep that front in the house as much as we can, because we find that you obviously, like we have been and he has been, we've been in and out doing stuff all the time, and there's always been, he's like could have been away, and it's always been like mum's the bad guy because she tells everybody, or she's setting the rules, but it's actually we've set the rules together. It's just maybe mum's here all the time at the moment and I have to take the leash at the time. But yeah, we as parents, that's what we try to really is, you know, if we're having those conversations, we have it together and we have it with whoever we need to have it with, and we go from there. But that's how we try and communicate, and we try and keep it open, we try and keep it fun. And obviously, like he said, we're very new to the whole boyfriend and all, you know, the scenarios that come up over life, but we try and keep that, you know, relationship pretty open. And I think our kids are very open with whatever they come with, they say anything and everything, and that's what we want it to be like that, because I just know that, I mean, my growing up, I was petrified of my dad, and even a boy ringing the phone, and I would just deny that I knew that person because he was just so dominant in that sides of things, and that scared me kind of in ways, and I didn't want that as when, you know, my daughter feeling the same sort of thing. So we try to implement, but that was just because that was just the way it was. But yeah, so I think the little changes that we did, obviously what worked well when we were growing up, we're trying to, you know, reflect back. Yeah,
such good advice. It goes along with some of the advice we've been given through past guests. Daneka Tuineau talked about like have been in accord in what the information or communication you're giving, and then he said we never fight in front of the kids. Like, you go when they're away, you go to the room, you guys can go hard out, and then but he gave that advice and I still didn't follow it. Like, so I'm always sleeping over here sometimes.
Yeah.
Are there choices or sacrifices that you've made as parents that maybe the kids aren't aware of now, but you hope that one day they'll be able to understand that bit about you, that decision you made, that sacrifice you made, that choice you made? And what would that be?
Hey, I always try and make them understand the sacrifices we've made for them. Sorry. Sorry, could you say that again?
What choices or decisions that you've made as parents do you want your kids to understand and appreciate when they get older? Because sometimes they can't appreciate it now because they're still growing. But what do you hope that they appreciate about the way that you've brought them up when they're a bit older?
I mean, I think first of all, the sacrifice that we made to leave home and obviously be away, because obviously every Christmas or every time we're away, they're like, oh, we want to be with our cousins, or why aren't we with grandma? Why aren't we, why are we here? We've got, no, it's just me, you and dad, or, sort of thing. And then obviously the sacrifices, they understood why we did what we did, and how I feel like that we hope that they understand that we gave them, not only was it Joe's opportunity to go over there, but it was their opportunity to live a life, to have those experiences that some kids will never get, and I think you can even see it in our children and the way that they probably socialise with people and stuff like that. They're, more open-minded about stuff, or they're not so closed in, or closed in minds. So I feel like that, I hope that they understand that yes, we didn't have 11 Christmases with mum, with grandma and grandpa and all of those sort of things, but that when we did come back last year, that they really thrived and enjoyed it, to understand why we've done what we've done and the path that we've gone through. So I hope later on that they understand that, and why why the family did what we did. And But at this stage, yeah, we hope, but I don't know. But we try and implement, you know, why we did it. And obviously the questions always came up for us, especially when we were overseas. But yeah, I mean, now we're home, and I suppose now they'll probably go, well, we don't want to go to Nan and Grandma's for Christmas now. So we, you know, there's that balance, but it will be, hopefully they will understand the family time, why we've done what we've done, and you know why. And that's probably why for them right now, that family is really important to them. They want to be with their cousins all the time, and we want to go to New Plymouth. They always want to go down and be with their family. So we really try to implement that.
I think just looking back, and when you, sorry. A bit croaky, but when you look back and you just look at what your parents have done for you, and I just hope, you know, that our kids look back when they're close to our age and they say, man, you know, our parents were awesome. They, you know, did everything they could for us, and you know, upbringing has been awesome. And looking back at my parents, you know, that's I look up to them and what they did for me and my brothers, and I just hope that our kids, you know, feel that same way.
That's cool. Perfect segue into my final question. We talked about changes, generational changes. You know, you mentioned your parents, your family situation, and then again, as parents, when you think about the generations, if you had to pull one timeless piece of wisdom from your parents that you could pass on to your kids, what would be that one memory, one experience, one piece of wisdom that you could pass on?
Don't do what I do what I say.
Hey, that's a classic one.
Oh, man.
Oh, geez, that's a good question. If you think of one, just pop in there.
Gosh.
Don't follow him.
No, you know, my dad being a priest, and just his selflessness for everybody. You know, he growing up, he never got paid a lot of money, but it seemed like he worked 70-hour weeks. You know, and he just did it for everybody else. You know, he would visit sick people. He would be at church. You know, helping people. He'd be, you know, helping people do anything around the community, and looking back at it, you know, just looking up to a man that just did everything for everybody else, so selfless. And you know, my dad is the worst singer you could ever hear, but man, in church he would belt out, you know, anywhere he would start singing praise for the amazing things that he's been blessed with, and you know, and he'd just do anything for anybody. And to take that, you know, and instill that in myself, and to do that sort of thing for other people, to be selfless and to help, you know, anybody at any time is something that I think I've taken from him, and I hope that our kids are selfless as well and will help, you know, those around them. And yeah, that's one of the biggest things I take from my parents is their drive to give to people, and my mother as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like just sitting here and thinking, I was like, oh, what was it? But I think it was, for me and anything, it was when my dad passed, and obviously that's only been 6 years ago, but the thing was is he was big on family and being with family, and there was times that I think for us is that phone call, because my dad used to call all the time, and all of us as my sisters and what have you, we'd always be like, oh my gosh, it's Dad again, like, do you know what I mean? And it's now missing that, like, do you know what I mean? And it's now, if I could take back that time of having where I could just pick up the phone and talk to Dad, or having that 2-minute conversation with him, you know, those times with your family, like I just feel like those times are so precious now. And I just think it could be anything, just being with family, and even it's just sitting having a cup of tea with them, or going and taking mum or dad, whatever, or being with the family is a huge part. And if I want to instill that into my family, is being my kids knowing that family is important, no matter what it is. It could be that, you know, timeless 10th phone call that's turned up again on the phone call, or the text message to go take the rubbish out, or whatever it is. It's those those times together. We can never get those back. And I think with my dad passing, that's probably been a huge thing for me and my family now. We really instill now that being together at Christmas time is a huge, you know, important time. Even if there's rifts or whatever happening, it's time to be together and enjoy them, because we're just not promised, you know, tomorrow. And so I feel like that's probably the biggest thing. And I hope my kids know, you know, to be together as a family is probably the biggest.
That's why, looking back, she reminds me probably twice a day, have you called your mum? Have you talked to your mum today? You know, so awesome. Yeah.
Man, maro lava. Dogo, gotta say, absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure, absolute privilege to listen to you both. A lot of nuggets in terms of relationships, in terms of going through the hard times, being in the midst of adversity, but also conquering all that stuff through love. Pretty much through love, and also your kids and the business and so forth. A lot of takes. And so real privilege, you guys, both of you as a couple, and so all the best for the rest of the year, and all the best with F45, all the best with the new venture and the new dream that you have. D, all the best, all the things you're doing with the masseuse and the Wars and the Warriors. And so thank you so much for your time once again. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people who are listening, a lot of people who are maybe viewing, are going to get some real gold nuggets and some real good sound advice as well. So Maro lava.
Hey, awesome. Thanks for having us. You guys are awesome, man. I love seeing your content. So it's really cool. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Just, you know, you guys are more than athletes. That's what you guys did. But like, just hearing your background story, the journey, the perseverance, and getting to meet the secret weapon behind why the Warriors are the top 3 and why we're gonna win it this year is because of these healing hands and the practice, the guinea pig that got all the massages, the champ over here. But just a story around like finding your identity and finding your identity in each other, and just knowing that, you know, you guys been together for 20 years, but some of the hard grinding that you guys gone through, you know, it's been different chapters in your life, and it's just all seasonal. And then I'm really encouraged to hear about the new dreams, and it's good to have you guys back home, because just knowing that you guys are just up the road, and just meeting you guys, man, it's such a blessing to our community. It's quite refreshing to have just your hearts and your service to our community, and having you guys be here is like, it's real good. And so I'm just real honored and privileged to get to meet you guys, and hopefully we get to pop in, and once my gout's finished, try and do you massage gout?
You do lymphatic.
She messes it with a hammer.
But yeah, hopefully we'll come and do a session.
No, honestly, really awesome to meet you guys, and I think it's been so cool. I've been so excited once I heard that we were getting a couple on. I just think there are so many nooks and crannies in being in a relationship. Like, it's not easy at all, and just hearing the journey that you guys have been on, it's this weird like yin yang balance that you guys have, where you guys can understand each other's struggles because of your individual paths, but also that creates new challenges that only you guys would know about. So really cool to hear like some real insight. And you had mentioned being genuine, and I'm so grateful that you guys were able to just be genuine about the ups and downs and just the challenges of parenting. I'm still quite young on my journey, so I'm always grateful to hear stories from other parents, because like you said, we're all parents for the first time. We're trying to figure it out. So just grateful for the time, for the insight, and just being genuine, like being really open about it. Cheers. Appreciate you guys.
Man, some of those questions, you know, made me look back and, you know, really
think.
Yeah. think about where we've been, what we've gone through, and where we are. So thank you for those questions. I mean, it just reinforces reinforces, you know, what we've gone through and the things we've done together. So it's been awesome. Man, I love it. Thank you very much.
Remember that date night?
Yeah,
Tomorrow, man.
Hey, it's locked in. Don't worry, it's locked in.
No worries, I'll check it tomorrow. But man, malo apito, thank you so much. But every guest that comes on, we always give them a gift. And so this is on behalf of Charles, Brad, and Jamin, myself on the Mad Date team. This is for you guys.
Oh, what? Oh my goodness!
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, we always give the, I guess, a bit of a caricature, a bit of how we envision them to be. So this is for you guys, man.
Oh man, that's unreal. I love it. I love it. We don't take family portraits or anything like that. We don't have a lot of family pictures together. So this means a lot because we don't actually have anything like that. So thank you very much.
We don't actually have a wedding photo, so this could be out.
Man, I love it. Thank you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
awesome.
it.
Thank you.
But is there anyone that you guys can think of that would be ideal to come on the podcast? Anyone that you can think on the top of your head who would be perfect to come on?
I did have a thought, but I've forgotten. Can I get back to you?
Anyone do?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, all our guests, the people we like to have on, always come by recommendation or like what our audience wants. So anyone you could think of, they will reach out to them. And
Oh no, I swear I remember I was thinking of one when I came in, like randomly, but I will have to.
Your son's soccer coach.
Oh, he won't be happy to come on here. I'm yelling all the time. Yeah, but thanks.
Oh no, man! Thank you guys. Appreciate it once again. Cool. But we always give our guests the last words, and so any words of encouragement to our for our men, but also for our couples out there.
Hey, it's a bumpy road. Everybody knows it's a bumpy road, but it's a road worth traveling. And finding the right person, and you know, having that travel together, and getting, you know, all the way to that destination together is part of it. And it just, hey, everybody knows it's a hard road, but stick on it, and you know, you'll see the roses at the end.
No, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, like it is, it's a journey, and there's always there's a start, there's a middle, there's obviously an end, but there's also a point in there where you just keep striving for, if you know at the end of the day that, I'm grateful that I come home to him every night and have my kids at home and everything like that, you know, those little things don't, you know, matter too much. Yes, they're going to be there, but they're just a part of being your two different identities that are coming together. So you've got to understand that there is going to be rough patches. So it's just making sure that you can, you know, iron them out and move on. And, you know, like I said, you haven't got every day together, so you need to cherish those times that you do have together.
Thank you very much once again. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. We look forward to your well thought out comments. And as usual, brothers,
refine,
unlock, and
take charge.
Mandate.